So welcome back. We are at the EFAM conference in Hamburg, and I got Godfrey Bloom right next to me. He was sitting for the UKIP party in the European Parliament for 10 years. And my first question is, Godfrey, how was it to be like an Austrian, like you are a member of the Ludwig von Mises Institute. How was it to be like an Austrian sitting in the European Parliament?
Well, it was rather fun, I have to say. It was rather fun because the concept of advocating no government interference was so alien to the concept of the European project, and so they really couldn't understand it. They would stare. I didn't get any argument. I didn't get any feedback. They just stared. And they said, "You mean you don't want any government?" I said, "Not really, no. I don't. Why would this committee be telling me and my family or my business how they should operate?"
And there wasn't not any single politician in the parliament who were open for your arguments, who asked, okay, can you recommend me a book or something like this? Not any.
There were some. I think probably about 6.
Okay.
Who were interested and genuinely interested. But it's just a concept. Politicians, you see, you only go into politics if you think you can interfere with other people's lives. I mean, that's the whole point. Nobody goes into politics to leave you alone. And of course, the best presidents of the United States are the one that played the most golf. People don't want government, so it's much better for politicians not to indulge in it. Don't indulge in it.
Like people always tell me, why you don't go into politics? Like, isn't it kind of hard to don't go crazy with like statists?
Well, because, yeah, there is. I went into politics for one reason only, and that was to get Brexit. Okay. I wanted my country, I wanted self-government for my country, I wanted my country back. And that was my main goal. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone into politics. I'd never been in politics before. So generally speaking, that's the reason I went in. Of course, it was quite successful because we won. We're leaving the European Union, so it wasn't wasted money or wasted time.
Okay. So, and how do you see the future for the UK right now? Like now you're not a UKIP member anymore, so you got quite a distance to the Brexit right now.
I left UKIP for the simple reason that they were libertarian. It was in their constitution. And they moved away from it. And I left them. I sat at the end as an independent. I left UKIP and sat as an independent for the simple reason they were drifting away from their core values. We'd already won the concept of Brexit. We'd already won the referendum idea, although it was several years to go before we actually fought the referendum. But they were then becoming mainstream. They were believing in all the things that politicians believe in.
Isn't it all the time like this, that like parties who are libertarian, like that they become mainstream? Isn't that like just politics?
Well, I think perhaps you're right, because you would get the same thing from socialists, wouldn't you? The socialists will say, oh, I'm a socialist, but political parties have drifted away from socialism. Conservatism, as I mentioned in my speech, is just really socialism slightly with a different emphasis. Basically, conservatives say we believe in socialist principles, but we think we could administer them and can deliver them more efficiently than the socialists. But they're all socialists. There's no point in voting. I shan't vote at this. I shan't vote. There's no point.
And so, coming back to the Brexit, so what do you think? How will the Brexit will look like in the UK soon?
Well, the civil service, the United Kingdom civil service, is very deeply committed to the European project. The Prime Minister is deeply committed to the European project, and so's her cabinet. So everybody wants to stay in the European Union. So what we're going to get is some sort of fake Brexit, some sort of fake system where we're in really. Give you an example, 3 examples. We've already conceded the European Court of Human Rights until 2025. That's the most hated aspect in England, and we all voted against it. That's one of the things that we were getting out of. Hate it. They've decided to keep it. Fishing industry, we wanted our fishing industry back. Fishing industry was a very, very big thing, of course, an island nation, and we wanted our 200-mile boundary back. Now they've agreed only 12 miles, which is a few lobster pots. That isn't our fishing industry back. So if you put all these things together, we've also, the third thing is agreed to pay some kind of fee to access the single market, which of course is ridiculous. Can you imagine going to a shop to buy a product and them charging you on the door to go in before you buy the car? You know, let's say it's a car showroom. You have to pay on the door to go into the showroom. You couldn't invent anything quite as stupid as this, but we've already conceded that. So 3 very major things we've already conceded, and we haven't even started negotiating. The negotiations have only been going on for about a week, and 3 major concessions we've already given. So no, we're not going to get Brexit, we're going to get some sort of Mickey Mouse fudge.
So what do you think, what has to change to get a proper Brexit?
Well, I would argue that the European Union is collapsing anyway, and it will collapse. The euro will collapse, the banking system will collapse, which is what I've been talking about this afternoon, of course. So it doesn't matter whether we vote Brexit or whether the Czech Republic decide to vote out or all these things. They're really irrelevant in my view. The whole thing's already collapsing. And of course the immigration problem, we've got Poland and Hungary who won't accept the open door immigration policy. So the European Union as we know it will not be here in 5 years' time.
Don't you see a big threat that when the European Union collapsed that they built an even bigger government, maybe a one world government?
Yes, and that's how out of touch they are. And it was only by actually working there for 10 years. You have to bear in mind that these people are zealots. These people are true believers in government. They're true believers in world government, in European government. They're simply completely and totally detached. And you can tell by the surprise of the establishment in England when we voted to leave. They were surprised. But they don't leave their little... they all eat in the same restaurants. They all live in the same street. You know, or they all live in London. And I live in Yorkshire, and we voted 70-30 to leave. And London was stunned. This is all about who voted for leave, who voted for remain. The people who voted leave were ordinary working people in very big numbers. The people who voted remain were largely people in the public sector. Because if you're working in the public sector, you like the idea of bureaucracy. You are a bureaucrat, and that's where it comes from. There's this ludicrous suggestion that young people voted to stay and old people voted to leave, which isn't true. It's split down the middle between those in the public sector and those in the private sector. Not young or old. Young or old doesn't have anything to do with it. Most young people didn't vote.
Talking about ludicrousy, like you had some encounters with Martin Schulz in the European Parliament. So what's your stance or point of view about Martin Schulz?
Well, I would suggest, rather than me give an opinion on Martin Schulz, I would suggest everybody checks out his speeches in the European Parliament, and mine, incidentally. Mine are much better, more informative, more amusing, but I would say that, wouldn't I? Yeah, have a look at Martin Schulz's speeches. You are dealing with a dyed-in-the-wool Euro-National Socialist, and his speeches are frightening. I'm frightening, I mean frightening. He is a very frightening man. I've heard those kind of speeches before.
For me,
so has my father.
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
So for me, when I look at the life of Martin Schulz, like for me, it's a typical bureaucrat. Like he had never served the public. Like he failed as a businessman. He failed everywhere, and then now he's a politician.
The European Union, the Parliament are full of people like that. Yeah. He's not one. Yeah. No, he's a lot more dangerous. than that. Oh yeah, make no mistake, he's a very, very dangerous man. He isn't just an incompetent bureaucrat loser. No, he's more dangerous than that.
And why do people always fall for people like Martin Schulz?
Well, I've never understood it, and I still don't understand it, but we're going to elect an unbelievably incompetent and stupid woman in a couple of weeks' time in England to replace an unbelievably stupid and incompetent predecessor in David Cameron. I don't understand. There's something wrong with the electoral system, and until we change the electoral system, we will go on electing stupid people. We have to have electoral reform so that people who actually vote contribute to society and do not sponge and live off it. And that's the problem. Until we get rid of that, nothing's going to change. We will continue to vote for stupid people.
One last question. How many years do you still give the European Union?
5.
5 years.
5.
Okay, thank you very much, Godfrey. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.